Yeah. Whoa. Okay. Yeah. Whoa.
Ad mortem inumicus! Ad mortem inumicus!
Oh no!
Victory! Round two.
Good man. Really? Oh no!
Victory! Round two.
Good man. Dead. Oh. Oh no!
Victory!
Right. Good man.
Victory!
Dead. Oh. Oh no!
Victory! Round three.
Right. Good man.
Victory!
Dead. Oh. Oh no!
Victory! Round three.
Rude. Oh. Oh. Dead. Oh. Oh no!
Victory!
Oh shit. That's a lot of echo. My bad. Fuck. Yeah, of course, everyone gets another chance, right? Wow, you so good. Oh, you so good, man. Oh, you. Okay. Wow. I'm tired of winning. Oh, oh, this guy. Wow. Oh my fucking. uh,
Round one.
ridiculous. Too easy, this guy says. Game too easy. Too much winning. You know? Give me a zone. Give me a zone. Aye. Oh! Good, Smoke. Good. Okay. Give me a zone. Give me a zone. Give me a zone. Ah!
Defeat. Round two.
That was fucking. Oh man. Bad plays. Bad plays. Hey! Nice. Stop it. Fuck, man. Whoa! Whoa!
Victory. Round three.
Oh. I. What? Oh man. Another one. Oh. My bad.
Victory.
No, man. My bad. Didn't see you were typing. Man. What? Fucking cunt. Ah, okay. Ay!
Defeat.
Ay! Okay. Mic too loud. I yell too much. My apologies. Um, 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 title. Okay. Yeah. Hey! Nice. Oh. What? Wow. You didn't kill me. Why did you not kill me? Yeah,
Victory.
that's what you get. Come on.
Round 2.
What? What?
Defeat. Round 3.
What? Wow! No way! Wow! wanna die. What? Come on. Dude, you gotta do something, man. Can't just not punish my out of stamina. Oh, that's just not fair, is it? I just suck at Warden.
Victory!
I didn't deserve that.
Round one.
Did.
Victory! Round two.
Give me a light, no? Oh. What? Oi! Oh. Okay. What's happening? Ah! Oh,
Victory!
we're both so bad.
Round 4.
Yeah, I can agree. Ooh! Oh! Oh! Is it still happening? I'm not sure. What? Fuck, man. What? I don't know. Why the fuck do I roll, bro? Oh.
Round 2.
Wow. Wow. Oh.
Defeat.
Yeah.
Round 3.
Hey. Oh. Nice. Oh. What?
Defeat.
Wow. You didn't kill me. Why did you not kill me?
Victory.
That's what you get. Come on.
Round 2.
Yeah, let's do it again.
Victory.
That's what you get. Come on.
Round 2.
Yeah, let's do it again. 소라요 힘보다도 유전에는 Why? It's time for some hurts. Yeah. 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 Okay.
Defeat. Round 2.
Two kicks.
Victory. Round 3.
focus. Oh, nice. Ah, yeah. Yes.
Round one.
Ace. Oh.
Victory! Round two.
Dude, fuck. This motherfucker. Ugh.
Round three.
Fuck. Oh.
Victory! Round four.
Oh.
Victory!
gonna lay out all my Weaver arsenal. Let's see. Oh yes! 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 Let's see. Oh yes! Yes. Exactly, my man, yes. Give me a... Yes, there it is.
Victory!
Let me play that. Do.
Round 2.
Nice.
Victory! Round 3. Victory!
Yeah. You leaving? No, you're not leaving. Yes. I guess. No. Kensei. Calling you. Kensei. No? Okay. Pole guy. This is pole girl. Kensei. Calling you. Kensei. No? Okay. Get away from me, big hunk of metal. Stay away from me. Oh. What?
Ad mortem inimicus! Defeat. Round 2. Ad mortem inimicus!
Come on. Ah, no!
Ad mortem inimicus!
Yeah, okay. Fuck this mess.
Defeat. Round 3. Ad mortem inimicus!
Ah!
Victory! Round 4. Ad mortem inimicus!
Oh my god.
Defeat.
Fuck. No.
Round 1.
I what? Oh. Oh.
Incredibili!
Yeah.
Round 2.
What?
Incredibili! Infirmo! Etiam! Victory! Round 3.
No lag. I saw some crazy lag right there. I don't know.
Incontinent! Infirmo! Etiam! Incontinent!
What is he doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Wackin. He's the worst character. Yes, the worst character. What are you doing, man?
Round 4. Incontinent! Infirmo! Etiam! Victory!
I mean, I don't play Raider as well. Blame him. Nah, Red 9. And Charge Punch was not the best idea, but it's a mix-up, right? It's a fucking mix-up. Oh, I almost.
Round 1.
Oh!
Victory! Round 2.
What are you doing?
Nice! No, you won't. No, you won't. Hubris!
Defeat! Round 3.
Woo! Woo! Oh! Oh! Man! What am I doing?
Defeat! Round 4.
Oh!
Victory!
What was that?
Round 5.
Oh, nice. Oh. Oh, nice.
Defeat!
What do I pay you for? Fight!
Like that can be antenna base. Darkness. Tenebrous. It's okay to be white, guys.
Round 1.
this. Oh no!
Victory! Round 2. Victory!
You do that. Not enough darkness.
Round
There's all the
3.
flips. Oh man.
Victory!
Classic. Conk.
Flieger!
Oh, shaken.
Flieger! Flieger! Flieger!
Victory! Round 2.
What the fuck was that?
Flieger!
Victory!
Correct.
Round 3.
It's like, no, no, no. You gotta watch out, man. Gotta get. Oh, nice. Oh. Oh.
Victory!
Oh. Okay. Farewell. To tell someone they're wrong, tell them they're right. What? Yes, Vikings unite. Viking. 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 Yes. Yes. Yeah. Seems like a common sense.
You lost Zone A.
Stop guard breaking him, man. Just hit him, for fuck's sake. Oh my god. What an idiot. What an idiot. What a fucking idiot. Oh man. Dead. Haha!
You captured Zone A.
Nice. Fucking berserker now. That berserker moves. Yeah, that's
You captured Zone C. You lost Zone A.
what?
You lost Zone C. Captured Zone A. You captured Zone C.
Come on.
Don McGlass! Leiden blaser vid er! You lost Zone C. Don McGlass! Don McGlass! Jävla bröder! You captured Zone C. Enemy team is breaking. The enemy rallied. You lost Zone A.
Make an example for the rest of them!
You lost Zone C. You captured Zone A. Enemy team is breaking. You captured Zone C. You lost Zone A.
good. Was good. Wow, what a great stream. That's it. That's all. That's the article. That is it. Yes, that is it. Yeah. Part 2? Oh. I saw that.
Canada is the most unassuming one of the bunch. Even though Canadian cultural, scientific, economic, and even military influences are not insignificant, it's still just that silly country with a lot of leaves in the eyes of the rest of the world. Nothing really important's going on up there, right? And honestly, I was okay with that being the common view of my country up until recently. At this point, though, the cultural values that Canada seems to be clandestinely exporting to the rest of the world have become poisoned. Canada was once a bastion of free speech, liberalism, equality of opportunity, and rationality. However, Canada is changing. Free speech has been exchanged for censorship. Liberalism has been exchanged for social justice. Equality of opportunity has been exchanged for equality of outcome. And rationality has been exchanged with dogma. In this multi-part series I'm titling How Cucked is Canada, I'm going to discuss exactly what's wrong with Canadian culture right now, how it affects the rest of the world, and what we can do about it. And what better place to start than with Canadian news media? Just in case you're interested, my previous videos, The Trouble with Trudeau and Unsettling Canada 150, make great primers for this stuff, though they're not strictly necessary to watch first. The Canadian news media has similar problems to the other news outlets and publications in the First World right now. They're becoming increasingly polarized, ideological, and both susceptible to and overzealously on the hunt for fake news. On April 29, 2017, a survey done by Bruce Anderson and David Coletto and published on the Canadian research website Abacus Data asked the Canadian public a series of questions on the topic of fake news and media bias. A few interesting trends can be seen. For example, people are twice as likely to say the quality of journalism is declining at 26% than improving at 13%. However, this is significantly affected by the views of conservative voters, who are far more likely to say journalism is deteriorating at 42%. On the question of media bias, 58% think the news media generally favor one political party over another, with conservative voters 15 points more likely to feel this way than liberal voters, 69% versus 54%. Millennials were also far more likely than average to perceive a bias, as are residents of Alberta. For those of you who don't know, Alberta is basically the closest thing Canada has to a Bible Belt. The tendency was to see a liberal bias at CBC, a conservative bias at the National Post and Sun newspapers, a slight tendency to see a liberal bias at the CTV and Global News, and mixed opinions about the Globe and Mail. Conservative voters were more likely to perceive a bias in the news media overall, particularly at the CBC, but at least a third of conservative voters felt that CTV, Global, and the Globe and Mail favored the Liberal Party, and 1 in 5 felt that the National Post and Sun newspapers favored the Liberal Party as well. Liberal and NDP voters held varied views, but not substantially different from conservatives. Both were more likely to feel that the CBC tended to favor the Liberals, while the Sun and National Post favored the Conservatives. Interestingly, Liberal voters were more likely to feel the Globe favors the Tories as opposed to the Liberals, the opposite view held by Conservative voters. It's reasonable to assume that the CBC, and to a lesser extent, CTV and Global News, probably have a left-wing bias, and the Sun and National Post probably have a right-wing bias. Because the Globe and Mail is viewed by both sides of the political spectrum as having a bias towards the other side, in reality it's probably a relatively centrist outlook. But there's a problem with the way this study treats fake news. At one point, the assertion is made that about 7.5 million have said that their opinion had been improperly informed because of the fake news they read. How can they determine this? How can they determine that among those who read fake news stories, half said their views were affected and they were misled? The majority of the raw data used was acquired from polling, and the definition of what fake news is fluctuates wildly between people with different political opinions. Polling is useful, but one of its limitations is in expecting people to be able to accurately provide data about an instance in which they were apparently fooled by something in the past, but now they totally had the right idea about it. Nonetheless, Canada's three largest and most prominent news sources, the CBC, CTV, and Global News, likely all have some sort of left-leaning bias. The right-leaning outlets, the Sun and the National Post, are largely print outlets, and don't have the wide reach of the cable news giants. Which is why I had to laugh to myself a bit when this article on the Walrus popped up. Does Canadian media have a right-wing bias? While the far right appears on daily news, the far left has yet to break through the mainstream. Are you sure, guys? Are you sure about that? When CBC journalist Hannah Thibodeau tweeted last week that Gavin McInnes would be her guest on Power and Politics, the CBC's daily news show, it was clear to everyone but the show's hosts and producers what would happen next. McInnes, a rebel media personality who achieved notoriety earlier this year for an anti-Semitic video rant he posted titled 10 Things I Hate About Jews, was brought on to lend context to a group he founded called the Proud Boys. McInnes' appearance shows just how easy it is for a right-wing extremist to get on Canada's public broadcaster. Outlandish, counterfactual statements provide the balance of a conservative voice. In spite of, or perhaps because of, claims that the mainstream media is a bastion of liberal ideas, the range of political views involved in the mainstream discourse often skews to the far right rather than the left. I don't know if that's how it works, that because the media has a leftist bias, mainstream discourse skews to the far right whenever someone like Gavin McInnes shows up. That's like saying Channel 4 in the UK has a bias against the left, because Jordan Peterson was a guest of Cathy Newman, and I don't think anyone's going to believe that. Take former Conservative leadership candidate Kelly Lech, who proposed screening immigrants for Canadian values in order to make waves in a leadership contest she had no hope of winning. Journalists obsessed over Lech's campaign and her policies. She finished the Conservative race with less than 8% of the vote. Well, do you want to know why journalists obsessed over this? Because it's common sense. It's good common sense policy to not allow immigrants into Canada who aren't interested in upholding Canadian values, who in fact may want to replace those different values with a competing value system that the majority of Canadians wouldn't want to live under. And because it's a common sense policy coming from a Conservative candidate that goes against your self-admitted left-leaning biases, you guys all had to get together and do damage control over it. The answer, of course, is that Canada's liberal media can tolerate a lot of misinformation and bigotry, especially if it gets clicks. Canada is built on this kind of hypocrisy. It's why our Prime Minister can wear rainbow socks while selling billions in arms to Saudi Arabia. Canada's 150th anniversary has caused media to work even harder to uphold the mythology of Canada as a tolerant, liberal utopia. To challenge those myths remains far more dangerous to the status quo than promoting the Proud Boys. It's the left who challenges the Western chauvinism on which Canada was built. The extreme right, like McInnes and Lech, simply offer a mirror into our racist past and makes the present look rosier than it is. Oh, I see. You think that the Canadian news media doesn't have enough of a left-leaning bias? We need to heat even more of that shit into the public square, apparently, despite this other article that says, most Canadian media guilty of left-leaning bias, says author. Gary Bowler, published author and professor of history at the University of Manitoba, stated on the Epoch Times that Canada's media has gotten so biased towards supporting a progressive or leftist agenda that certain issues such as gay marriage, global warming, abortion, and gun control typically do not contain a conservative viewpoint. There's a lot of Canadian life that is invisible to the media, and there's a lot that is highlighted that just happens to fit the progressive agenda. And that narrowing of the window of public opinion is very dangerous, whether the drift is to the right or to the left, as it is in North America in the 21st century. I've talked about this on my video on Howland spheres. Other people have talked about the Overton window, but whatever you want to describe this theory as, Bowler's absolutely right. Canada's media seems to determine that some topics topics are simply untouchable. For example, let's take a look at this HuffPo Canada article, "Food alone won't solve hunger." Oh, it won't? What else are you gonna feed them besides food? Hold on, I already know the answer. It's probably bullshit. For the last 40 years, we've been sold a lie about how to solve hunger. It's the kind of deception that sounds so right, so convincing, that we don't even need to ask questions. We've been told that handing out food to poor, struggling people will fill their need and end their hunger. We've created an entire ecosystem of food charity that's so pervasive it makes us feel like we've done our part. It makes us feel like the problem's solved. What's needed is not charity, but solidarity. We must cultivate a sense of community and belonging in our neighborhoods, but we can't stop there. We need to take the essential next step, translating our collective wealth into things like affordable childcare, subsidized housing, and maybe one day a basic income guarantee. These are the kind of public policies that have been shown to diminish poverty and inequality. So redistribution schemes, then. What happens when all the rich and wealthy Canadians and Canadian businesses simply decide that they don't want to give up all their wealth to the Canadian government and move to the USA, or move overseas somewhere? Where's the collective wealth then? Oh, it wasn't collective, was it? It was owned by private individuals. The phrase, "our collective wealth," is how this guy says, "I want what you have and I want to take it from you," and solidarity, not charity, is how he says, "communism now." HuffPo Canada does allow in other points of view from time to time, but just look at how this article is laid out. Are social justice warriors stifling free speech? There's multiple well-reasoned opinions in here regarding the progressive tendencies to stifle opposing points of view. But look at how this person had to write this thing. Disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. There's 4 disclaimers in total in here, and they all basically act to try and calm down the progressives that make up HuffPo Canada's audience. Despite this, his article still hits home. Free speech is most important when it is being used to say something controversial. You don't have to agree with what's being said, but defending the person's right to say it is what matters most. These 2 bedrock foundations of a democratic free society are being torn to pieces by people with infallibility complexes, unable to separate their prejudices from the system they live under, and therefore undermining the very system that allows them to be so obstinate in the first place. Woo, lad. Maclean's is a long-running political magazine in Canada that has often been held up as an exceptional example of objectivity and truth in reporting. In the pages of Maclean's, you can expect to find such articles as "Jordan Peterson and the Big Mistake of University Censors," and "Why are schools brainwashing our children? Protesting oil pipelines, celebrating polygamy is the new social justice agenda in class pushing politics at the expense of learning." But the February 2018 issue of Maclean's surprised many Canadians, myself included, by having a separate higher price for men over women, complete with a second barcode, with the gap reflecting the 26% gender pay gap that still exists in Canada. Maclean published an article laying out their reasoning. Pay equity is having its moment as the next beat in the cadence of the #MeToo movement. We hope this issue will stir urgent conversation already happening around the world. In Canada, estimates for the pay equity gap range from 8% to as high as 50%. We went with 26% for the cover, as that Statistics Canada number compares full-time working women with full-time working men, a broad comparison capturing most workers in Canada. Okay, let's talk about Statistics Canada. Women are more likely than men to work part-time, and the reason most cited by women for working part-time was caring for children. Well, okay, let's look at only full-time workers like Maclean's did. Women's careers are interrupted more frequently than men's careers, for longer total durations. Women and men occupy distinct occupations, with women's typically being at lower levels than men's. Maybe these are the reasons. Maybe it's because women take more time off, therefore they miss opportunities and promotions. Maybe it's because men are willing to negotiate with their employer for a higher salary. Maybe it's because when it comes to women, full-time doesn't really mean full-time. Annual earnings are a problematic measure of gender-based pay inequality, as women work fewer hours on average than men, even on a full-time, full-year basis, typically due to their family responsibilities. Maybe, within a functional family unit, the members of that family negotiate amongst themselves how much they want to work, how much they want to manage the home, and the pay gap largely reflects the choices of individual men and women on a larger scale. Maybe, just maybe, the government has no place in regulating the individual choices of men and women in this regard. Maybe Maclean's has no fucking business charging men more for their magazine because women as a class have made lifestyle choices that they ideologically disagree with. Originally published in the Ottawa Citizen, and then later republished in the National Post, which you'll recall is one of the outlets polled Canadians consider to be right of center in its reporting, is this article. See if you can take the social justice warriors out at the top, Jordan Peterson says. The article's about Jordan Jordan Peterson's meteoric rise to international fame, something we'll be discussing more in depth in the academia video of this series. But let's see how it's written. Canada is not the same country it was 10 years ago. We need to wake up and stop this from happening, Peterson spat. The crowd loved it. There were a couple of hundred people. I saw one Asian woman. Everyone else was white. This was Carleton Place after all. The gender mix was roughly even, and there were more young people than you typically see at a conservative event. Does this sound like a right-of-center publication to you? To me, it sounds like a progressive who's sounding the alarm that a centrist like Peterson has become popular among Canada's youth. Thursday night, he offered the 100 or so people in the hall a list of suggestions for selling conservatism to young voters. Besides raising the Liberal Party, they included being unapologetically in favor of Western values and individual freedom, recognizing that responsibilities are more important than rights, promoting traditional nuclear families, and championing hierarchies of competence that reward people for their work. Is there something wrong with being unapologetically in favor of Western values or individual freedom? Is there something wrong with nuclear families or hierarchies of competence? Is there something wrong in recognizing that with rights come responsibilities? I mean, you wouldn't construct this paragraph in this way if you thought those things were good. Peterson is a tenured prof at a major university who took a tough public stance against political correctness, or if you prefer, decency. No, I don't prefer decency. You can't just gloss over the issue of government legislating politeness. Being rude should carry a social cost, not a legal one. Talk radio populism with an intellectual rapper where the other side isn't just wrong but sick and evil sells. Does it win elections? It has in the United States. There were over 200 people delivering a standing ovation for Peterson in a hall in Carleton Place who seemed to think it could here too. If the National Post skews right in Canadian society, I can only assume that the hall
Fucking... What? Oh shit. Oh shit, Eddie Zhao? What? It's not gonna get news. It's stuff. Don't worry about it. I mean, obviously, because I'm in Canada.
parent reporting. In the pages of Maclean's, you can expect to find such articles as Jordan Peterson and the Big Mistake of University Censors, and Why Are Schools Brainwashing Our Children? Protesting oil pipelines, celebrating polygamy is the new social justice agenda in class pushing politics at the expense of learning. But the February 2018 issue of Maclean's surprised many Canadians, myself included, by having a separate higher price for men over women, complete with a second barcode, with the gap reflecting the 26% gender pay gap that still exists in Canada. Maclean published an article laying out their reasoning. Pay equity is having its moment as the next beat in the cadence of the
You lost Zone C. You captured Zone A.
Go back, go back, go back, go back.
You lost Zone A. You captured Zone A.
아,
You lost Zone A.
Eddie, how are you there? If you are there, respawn, s'il vous plaît.
You captured Zone A.
Oh my lord.
captured Zone C.
Nice try, fatty. Whoa. Nice try, fatty.
You lost Zone A.
Oh!
You captured Zone A. You lost Zone C.
Get down here. No? Okay.
Enemy team is breaking.
They expected now. Fucking hell.
The enemy rally.
Oh. Oh. Wow, the delay. What?
Your team is breaking.
Rick! Yes, yes.
Enemy team is breaking.
God damn. Nice. It's over. No? Oh my god. Okay, it's over. Wow. Come on, man. It's over. Man, good fight. Wow. The old trick. Oh no.
Victory!
Hoi, 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 hoi. Hoi, 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 hoi. And what's the word? Feudalism and peasant. Serfdom, serfdom. Yes. I think I'll make a great serf. Yeah, dude, no, that's too recent, man. That's what started the whole thing. The whole modern, you know, all the kings killed and shit because of that guillotine bullshit. And money. Ah! Oh! Run the hell. Oh! Oh! If you're listening, Eddie, it's been a while. Hello. Hope you're doing good. I'm fine, kinda.
You lost Zone C.
Fatty, please don't. The fatty likes me. He doesn't hug me. I'm not into that business. Oh, what am I up to? I'm stuck at home. You know, the whole
You
quarantine
captured
stuff.
Zone A.
Oh, the restaurants are closed. School's over. Just at home. Playing video games, now I'm streaming. Maybe this will be... Oh. I need someone to look at me so I don't act so shameless, you know?
You lost Zone A.
It's the fatty. Oh, fatty! No fatty! No fatty! Oh, come on, man. I mean, I work in this restaurant called Sir Lee, French restaurant. It's closed now though. No fatty! No fatty! What? Come on! By the way. Fuck. 1v1. Ah, no! I just work at the call site though. Desserts, abs, all the complaints. Very nice, very nice. I mean, I don't do dishes. I do dishes, but it's not my responsibility. Everyone should do dishes. I like doing dishes.
You captured Zone
Think
C.
of your own stuff. You know, mindless job. Very nice. I mean, that's how I got into the industry. Hey, restaurant's pretty cool. I'll do this for a living. Buy dishwashing. God. Oh.
You lost Zone C.
I mean, I would love to chat more. Personal stuff, maybe just on Messenger or something. Stream where only you and I am watching, you know? Can't be careful.
Is breaking.
I mean, true, but like, you know, there's a limit to how many dishes there are in the restaurant. There's way too many cases where we just didn't have enough dishes because we didn't have dishwashers. There's this Italian restaurant I used to work at. It's like skeleton crew, bare bone, fucking dumbass boss. It's closed now. It's shut down. It was just me and like a rookie and this fucking Mexican guy who wants to be a
Defeat.
cool guy, but that was some hard time. Yeah, dishwasher.
You lost Zone A. You lost Zone C.
Motherfucker.
狗血无言，受死吧！你死定了！拼尽全力！
Wow.
You captured Zone C.
Maybe a little music, maybe. Dead, bro. Oh, I'm dead. Hold on, bro. Oh, I am.
狗血无言！
I What's he doing? Whoa! Oh no! Wow. Skip frame, yeah, 'cause my computer sucks. Why? Parry everything. Why don't you parry everything? Holy shit! Oh my god.
You lost Zone A.
Dead! Get fucked! Yes. God. Oh, what? Haha.
You captured Zone C. Your team is breaking. Your team rallied. Your team is breaking.
Come on. Come on, bro. What the fuck was that?
You captured Zone A.
Nice. Save me,
Your team rallied.
brother.
Your team is breaking. Your team is breaking.
How is he? Oh, this kid looks cute. Where's he? Where are you guys going? Where are you guys going? Fuck! Hold on. Oh,
接招吧！
man.
Defeat.
Tonight. I'll come over. Wait, no. Right, good. 30 seconds. 10 seconds. Hold on.